All right, I'm recording.
All right.
Where did Clint's video go?
We are recording.
I still have his video.
My video should still be there.
No, I can see
Excellent
it
start.
It cut out for me. It cut out. I know, right? we can edit.
Yep.
We'll fix it in post.
Exactly.
Have you guys both seen season 3 of BoJack Horseman?
No.
I saw most of it. I don't remember.
I've not seen any seasons of BoJack Horseman.
Okay, so there's this whole running gag. Sorry, this is the Avatar podcast, but we are talking about BoJack Horseman today.
So let's get into this.
Okay.
Welcome to. We didn't even come up with a name for this.
No,
what is the name for it?
Rewatchers.
Rewatchers. Rewatchers.
Clock Stoppers 2, Electric Boogaloo. Did you guys see the movie Clock Stoppers growing up?
No.
This was a really shitty kids action movie about kids with watches that could stop time.
Okay. I feel like I remember something like that.
It was really bad. I was like 10 years old.
Disney Channel movie that I knew.
I think it was a Disney movie,
Disney
but I think
Channel
it was in
Oh, then maybe we're thinking of the same thing. Oh, you think it was in theaters?
I think it was in theaters, but I could be wrong.
I don't know.
I mean, High School Musical 3 was in theaters. That doesn't mean it's not a Disney Channel movie.
Good point.
True.
Mm-hmm.
So, should we talk about Avatar?
Yes, let's talk about Avatar. What is Avatar?
Clint, you're the expert. How do we start this?
I'm the resident expert. Okay.
You're the resident podcast expert.
Well, the thing that I'm used to seeing in most podcasts is feedback from the last episode. So this is where you have the really awkward first episode bit where you try and figure out how the fuck do you start these things.
What was that?
Yes, there's usually a sound effect as well that says, now we're starting.
Yeah, that's our little intro music. Boo!
I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that sound effect as a recurring gag. All right, then. So let us go to the amazing script that Sara put in place because...
it's really bad. No.
No. I'm going to read this word for word.
Wait.
Hello, and welcome to parentheses name, where we rewatch shows we love and share our thoughts. I'm Sara, and I'm Clint, and this episode we also have Jenna just joining us. Say hi, Jenna. Parentheses hi.
Parentheses hi.
Yes, I wrote that.
All right, so
I love it.
I wasn't planning for us to say it word for word. It's just like a guide, you know. So here, this is how it would go. Hello, and welcome to Rewatchers, where I already fucked it up.
This is the thing. You just say it multiple times, and then we use the good cut. We'll just use the good version.
Okay.
Just keep rolling.
Okay. Hello, and welcome to Rewatchers, where we rewatch shows we love and share our thoughts. I'm Sara.
And I'm Clint.
And this episode, we also have Jenna joining us. Say hi, Jenna.
Hi, Jenna.
So this is our first episode, and we are kicking things off with Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Ooh.
Clint, do you want to tell us some background about the show?
Sure. For anyone who hasn't seen this show, it is basically the most weeaboo thing that you can get away with and not actually watch anime.
True.
Accurate.
It is a Nickelodeon animated show from 2005, so back when I was 12 years old.
Damn.
I am now 24, and I am still watching this show.
Nerd.
So you can... I'll take that with pride. The creators were Brian Konietzko and Michael Dante DiMartino. I hope I am not fucking up either of their names, because I have seen them way too many times for me to fuck them up. But it's totally possible that I did.
You
mix up last names. I probably mixed up last names. But no. Okay. And so today we want to talk about the first two-part series of the entire show, with episode 1 titled The Boy in the Iceberg and episode 2 titled The Avatar Returns. Okay, for anybody listening, go watch the first 2 episodes of Avatar, then come back to this point. Pause your podcast player and come back here.
We'll wait.
Still waiting. You done? We ready now?
Okay.
I'm serious.
Okay. So, now what?
Okay, now we go through what some of our notes were. Did either of you bother to keep notes for this, like asked?
I
I
jotted down a few
did.
things on my phone.
My notes are very basic.
Yeah,
Mhm.
mine are pretty vague.
I was
I think, a
running
total
when I
of...
watched the first episode. I went exercising this
Okay.
evening, and so I was, while
Shame.
running, trying to type some random thoughts. So
Yeah.
some of my notes are really random, with, like, sexism is bullshit.
That's very general.
That was one of my notes.
I'm not sure my notes are much better though. I think I literally typed five notes, and they are in order: honor, only episode.
No, wait, stop.
Honor.
No, I have
They
5
are-
notes written. Honor.
Yes, those are my 5 notes.
Yep.
Jenna, what do you think of this episode as a first episode?
I think it's a fantastic first episode. Mostly because I was looking at like the world building and the character building from the start, and I feel like both of those things are so strong in this episode.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Yeah.
actually my first note, that I was like, good opening with a lot of detail in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Because
that,
they're only 22-minute episodes.
absolutely.
And like within this first 2-part opener, it's like you already have like almost everything that you need to know to like really get into it,
Yeah.
into the story and into the
Not
world.
even just that, you have everything you need really to understand what's going on in the first minute and a half when Katara is giving you that spiel.
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
it's the first episode, so they have this extra long spiel at the beginning
Yeah.
to tell
Yeah.
you
And
about
then
the world,
It
and it's
helps
really
too
good.
with Aang being the last Airbender. Like Airbenders, I was thinking about it. They're like the most like foreign of any of the cultures to us as watchers.
Mhm.
So like to have it also be unknown to a lot of these characters, it
Mhm.
really helps give the writers a way to explain it better, because Aang is having to explain it to everybody else,
Right.
which I thought was
Mhm.
really cool, and just a really good from a writing perspective also.
For anyone
Mhm.
who, like, for the one person who's listening to this that doesn't understand what an airbender is, they basically have a magic, not magic power to control the air. Like,
Not
and
magic.
there's other, yes, not magic, but magic.
But
Magic kung fu.
magic.
And there's waterbenders and earthbenders and firebenders.
Ooh.
So, as I was saying, one of my notes, sexism is bullshit. I really liked how it's one of the first things in the entire show is Katara calling out Sokka for being a sexist
Exactly.
asshole.
Yeah, it's just
No, that's exactly. I was gonna say that too.
yeah, super
Oh, and
feminist right
that
from the
leads me to
start.
my next thing. That this, our very first real scene of this show is in a really interesting location. They're kayaking amongst a bunch of ice flows in like an ice canyon.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
South Pole. What other show starts with such an interesting location? It's usually in a bedroom or a house or something, or a school or something. This is like in the wilds. It's just a cool place.
Mm-hmm. Especially for a kids show too.
But I mean, is this really a kids show? I mean, yes, it's in
It's
theory,
marketed
it's a
to
kids
children,
show.
but it
Yeah.
is so much better than other kids shows
yeah,
that
yeah,
adults can
exactly.
recognize how good it is.
So honor.
So honor.
So
I mean, I
Sarah,
really
how
want
do
to
you
go
feel
back
about
to that.
Zuko? Tell us about the
This
first scene with
episode-
Zuko.
See, I don't. I mean, am I allowed to say spoilery things yet, or are we still in
No,
the
let's
phase
let's
of the
First
say,
podcast?
how do you
impressions.
feel about Zuko in this first episode?
He's a douche.
Well, I remember. I mean, yeah, the first time I watched it, like you guys laughed at me because you'd already seen it, and I was like, "Wow, what an asshole!" And you guys were just like, "Haha, you don't even know," you know, like. But like already, you can. I think the character building already is starting so well,
Mm-hmm.
just in these first couple episodes.
Oh yeah.
Because you already get to see, like, he talks about honor, and he like talks about like his father, I think, a little bit in these first 2 episodes.
Yes, he does.
But you don't know exactly what's happened yet. You like get a taste of that, and it's like, yes, he's being a total douchebag, but it's like when you know kind of the ending of the series, you like look at it and everything he does, you're like, I know exactly why you're doing that. It's because you like need
XXX.
love. Yeah, XXX, you
Yeah.
like need love and approval from your family, or like, you know, you have this sense of like duty and
Honor.
like an honor. Honor, it's all about the honor. So yeah.
I
So
know.
it's like, yes, obviously he's a total asshole, but it's like already you're like
There's something beneath
they're
the
starting
surface
it
there,
off so
yeah.
well. Yeah, exactly. It's like you can see it. And also his like relationship with his uncle, I think too,
Yes.
it like works to humanize him much more.
Oh yeah, because Iroh right
Iroh,
off
if
the
he
bat
didn't
is
have that
amazing.
relationship. Oh
One
yeah.
of my other quotes
Iroh
here
is
is
incredible.
Iroh is immediately the best character in this show.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he has like 2 lines in the first episode.
Yeah.
I know.
No, and it's like the fact that he
He's so
sticks
sassy.
with Zuko, I think says so much about both of them.
Yeah, it's not clear. Like you know he's a prince, but like, and then you realize, oh, this is uncle, and so you're thinking like, oh, this is some other aspect of royalty here.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, and he becomes interesting instantly. Then you're like, I want to know more about this guy. I want to know more about like why there's this super peaceful master, like this like Yoda like figure almost teaching this spoiled prince character.
The thing I'm thinking about is actually in the 3rd episode, so I won't talk about that. But it's like he's so just kind of nonchalant throughout the whole thing, and then in like the scene where they're helping Aang escape from the Fire Navy boat, Zuko is like, shoot them out of the sky, and then all of a sudden they like together, you know, they use this like giant firebending thing, and you're like, oh, Iroh can actually do stuff.
Yeah, he's not just the sleeping guy in the cabin.
Yeah.
He's not the guy who just
he's
eats
not
his
just
roast
the guy
duck.
that plays the
He's not just the
playing, like,
tea-loving hippie dude.
Avatar
Lotus
Solitaire.
tile
What is
guy.
he playing? It's not Pai Sho.
Was it not Pai
I thought it
Sho?
was Pai Sho. I thought it was.
It's definitely not. There's like these little
Oh.
tiles that aren't circular.
Oh.
They're like square. It's a game
Weird.
we don't see ever again.
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know. Is
I
that like
guess
a
I
weird
didn't
pilot
realize
thing
that.
where like the Pai Sho as we know it came like after that? I don't know.
After that.
Yeah, because we don't really see Pai Sho until season 2.
Yeah.
But whatever. For people who are only at episode 1 and 2, that
Yeah.
means nothing to you right now.
No, it comes in season 1. Doesn't Iroh mention the Pai Sho tile?
Oh, he
like,
does.
With the
He
pirates?
does in episode 9. He does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm kind of a geek like that. I remember these details.
You remember the exact episode.
Yeah, it's the waterbending scroll.
Yeah, I was like, it's the one with the pirates. You're like, oh yeah, it's episode 9.
And here I am, like, I don't
This is
even
the
remember
second.
what you're talking about.
Remind me, this is the second time you've seen this show, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's the second time I've watched these episodes. I've only ever seen the entire show once.
Okay.
So I'm definitely, you guys are definitely more experienced. This is
Avatars.
more of like yeah, you guys are more experienced in the details of the show. I'm more just kind of here giving my honest reactions.
Yeah.
No
and like
opinion.
remembering as much as I can, you know?
Yeah,
But
no,
I'm
that's
almost
good.
it's almost like I'm reacting again, because it's like I mean, I know what happens for the most part, but I like forgot a lot of the details,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, totally.
So but yeah.
Okay,
What else do you have?
I'm just gonna speed through a couple of my notes from the first
Sure,
episode
sure.
because a lot of the interesting stuff happens like towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
A few things I noticed that are like in this episode that aren't like super immediately obvious from a first viewing, but like I can still talk about because it's not really spoilery. Is
Mm-hmm.
Sokka mentions Midnight Sun Madness, which I thought was a really neat detail because
Yeah.
that's like a thing when you're towards either
At the
poles,
poles.
Yeah.
where in winter
The sun
it's
doesn't
like 24-hour darkness,
Yeah.
and in summer it's 24-hour sunlight.
Yeah.
And so he's like talking about how crazy you get when you.
Well, I think
when
it's
you,
opposite. It's actually opposite for the South Pole.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah,
Mhm.
you're right. You're totally right.
That's
Because
the
it's
North
winter
Pole.
right now.
Lawyered.
Yeah.
Because no, well, it's still winter, but it's summer like weather. It's like warmer weather in northern hemisphere winter in the South Pole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 Something I think that's really interesting from this first episode is seeing how like absurdly poor the Southern Water Tribe really feels.
Right.
Like
I
you
was so sad watching those episodes.
I mean, like, at first it's funny because Qatar's like, Aang, meet the entire village.
Yeah.
Village meet Aang. And
But
it's
then you
like,
see,
it's like
it's like
12 guys.
20 old,
yeah,
it's like 20 old ladies and kids.
yeah.
Like,
But then
Mhm.
that's all it is.
But then I started getting sad when it's like you see Sokka like standing on top of the wall
Oh,
like
yeah.
as the ship is coming at him
Oh,
and
I
he's
was
the
getting so
only one
sad.
there like
That
ready to
was
fight.
that was another one of my notes was like Sokka is so underrated because like yes he's like a little crazy and like somewhat sexist sometimes and like kind of a buzzkill, but like he has so much like duty like towards his family and he's like so ready to protect the ones he loves because he will not give up when
No.
that boat comes and like crashes in. Like he doesn't move, he like keeps trying to go at Zuko even though he's like so outmatched.
Yeah.
Like he just does not give up, and I think that's amazing.
I feel like I want to give a short plot summary of these 2 episodes just so
Probably.
we have
Okay, we can do that,
here
yeah.
is the chronology of events. So we start with Sokka and Katara. They meet Aang. They free him from this iceberg that he's been trapped in for 100 years. They don't know that at the start, but you figure that out by the end of the first 2 episodes. Um, Prince Zuko sees them from far away on his ship and starts heading towards them. They go to Sokka and Katara's village and meet the villagers, and they like tell him, "Hey, the Airbenders are all extinct. You're probably the last one." And you get to meet Aang and see him as this like silly 12-year-old who's trying to have fun.
Oh, such a little kid.
Yeah.
He's
Such a little
adorable.
They go sledding on penguins, which are penguin otters.
Yes.
They go inside a Fire Nation ship that
Mhm.
is like, let's talk about that for a sec. That in this first episode, there's like that is something that's really good about the world building. Whenever I feel history going on,
Right.
how did you guys feel about that ship?
I thought it was a great detail. And there's so much about that Southern Water Tribe too, where like Qatar is the only waterbender there, and
Yeah.
like there's just so many questions that are brought up then. And I thought the ship was just such a good detail because it's like,
Yeah, even though when it's a first episode, you don't know exactly what it is, it becomes this really iconic image that
yeah,
you can bring back later, maybe.
Right.
yeah, just that ship like in the ice,
Right.
like
Right.
just such a good image.
Oh, one other thing that I had as a note. Is this ship like a piece of future tech to Aang? Like, does he see this and think this is way more advanced than anything I saw when I was
Well,
back before, or is this normal to him? I'm curious.
Well, I
no,
mean,
no. He mentions that some things seem out of place, and that's when they figure out, he was actually in the air bubble for like 100 years,
Hmm.
because he's very confused by this ship and some of the things that he's seeing on it. And then Katara's talking about the war that happened, and he's like, "What war?" You know.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
that's when they figure out. She's like, "I think you were in that ice bubble way longer than you think," and
yeah,
he's like, "Well, that's weird."
yeah. And I mean, we, having seen the show, we know a lot more about the chronology of the
Yeah.
war, so we know more about that.
so once they get off, they get off the ship once a flare goes off, which
Right.
alerts Zuko again to their location.
Mm-hmm.
Zuko comes and attacks the village, and Sokka like gears up to fight him. Which I think you,
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, I think you were saying that you thought that was a cool thing. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Oh yeah. I mean, well, first of all, there's this like dual scene where it's like Sokka getting ready for battle and then Zuko getting ready for battle. It's not. I mean, it's not really a battle, but it's like Sokka, since he's the only like man older, like boy older than like 10
Yeah, he's
left in the
15.
tribe, because he's 15, because all of the men left to fight in the war. He's like the warrior, the protector, or whatever. And so he's like in his tent, like doing the face paint and like getting his little, like, what is it that he has? He has a spear, but then it's
He
also
has a
that weird
spear and
thing
a
with the ball,
boomerang and a
boomerang, and
club.
like and a club. Um, And then,
They have
and
very
like just on
primitive
his,
weapons compared to
yeah,
these guys
very
on their
primitive.
steamship.
Yeah, and he's just on his own, like painting his own face, getting ready for battle, and then it cuts to Zuko, and he's on his ship, and he's got like handlers like putting his armor on for him, you know, like, and getting ready, and it's like, oh, this is not going to be a fair fight, but it's still like you're still feeling so hopeful for Sokka because obviously he's the underdog and he has so much determination, like standing on the wall that he built too, because he built that whole like
defense structure
for them.
My watchtower.
Yes.
And so it's like you have so much hope, and then they just come in this boat and they steamroll it, and it's such a poignant moment, and terrifying too, because it's like this huge ship against like 20 people, and they're tiny little
women and
tents.
children.
Yeah, and
yeah, whatever you say about Sokka, he's brave as fuck for going.
Oh, exactly. It's like that's terrifying, and obviously you can see the terror on his face, but he's like,
he holds his ground.
Oh yeah, like I said, like Katara's yelling at him to get out of the way of the ship, and he like doesn't move. Like partly probably because of fear, but also because like he's not gonna run away. And as soon as Zuko comes out, he goes straight for him. Like he's not gonna waste time. Like he's very determined to protect his tribe. His dad gave him this task of protecting the tribe and being the warrior, and he's not gonna let him down. So, and he doesn't give up even after, like the first blow, he like goes right at Zuko, and Zuko just like kicks him to the side. Like brutal.
So good.
That was a fun detail that I don't think I ever noticed before. That he went after Zuko does that like 3-punch combination to like break his spear, and then he pokes him in the head 3 times with the butt of the spear. But then Sokka does the same thing to Zuko on the ship with Aang's
oh my God, you're right.
staff. I never noticed that before, and I've seen this episode like 20 times.
Yeah.
So there's like, it's just so fucking good. It has these little details.
It really is.
Yeah. I love it.
No, so that's something that I really love, because then obviously, as the show progresses and Sokka develops as a character, it's like you can now then look back to this first episode and say, yeah, Sokka's kind of a dummy sometimes, but look at all his redeeming qualities, like right from the beginning. It's like he's so courageous, even in his fear.
Okay.
Did you have more notes?
That's pretty much everything that I think had to do with just these as first 2 episodes. Overall, as we said, really strong opening to a series, really strong world building.
Can we talk about the I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to call it a thing, but on the ship when Aang's eyes glow.
Oh, the Avatar state.
Girl, that's what I was trying not to say. Because we don't know that's what it is yet. I was trying not to spoil it for people.
It's fine.
For
the thing when Aang's eyes glow. What do you want to say about that?
I just think it's interesting because we see it later. Will we see it? Although we see it in episode.
This is the first time
we're seeing it in episode 1.
This is the first time
kind of, because when Aang is coming out of the iceberg,
his eyes are glowing.
His eyes are glowing already.
That's true.
But that's also the first time we see him waterbend. It's also the first time we see like waterbending like in its total badassness. Because at this point Katara is useless.
It also kind of has this whole like, this is like how impressive bending can be, because so far they'd only shown bending as kind of like small stakes type stuff, like
Although
we're gonna have.
I found myself really impressed by Aang's airbending, because Katara can only do like super tiny things, but Aang, you can already tell that he's like a really powerful bender in the way that he uses it in these episodes.
Like, I didn't even talk about the fight with Zuko. In his cabin.
Like that was so good.
Not even just from a storytelling perspective, from a choreography perspective. It uses the space.
Oh, just that whole sequence on the ship is amazing. Because he says, have you ever seen an airbender? I bet I can get away from, like, I bet I can beat you with both
my
hands tied behind my back.
And he does it.
And he does. And he does. No, that whole sequence is very well choreographed and timed.
And you see the difference between airbending and firebending.
And firebending,
Whereas
yeah.
firebending is very offensive, like you're always,
Oh yeah.
making shots at somebody, whereas
Mm-hmm.
airbending is a lot more defensive, like Aang uses it to like run away from people and he like blows people into things, but it's not the same at all.
Well, and yeah, just the movements that you use. I mean, the airbending is much more like air. It's like very light and very like gentle almost. The movements that he uses to use his airbending are much more like fluid, and even when he's being powerful with them, it's like just the way that he moves and floats and um moves his arms, whereas like Zuko, there's like a lot of like stomping and like you gotta like get your
Grunting.
footing, like grunting, and you gotta like get your footing, and it's almost like boxing, or like you're like punching. It's like very hard and like
Very
offensive, like
aggressive,
you said.
yeah.
Very aggressive, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, and it's much more like fire that way. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Weird how that matches up.
Weird how that matches up.
Who would have thought? But no, it's
That's
really
why
cool.
this is a good show.
It's like that's just part of the animators thought about like drawing the characters to go along with their fighting style, and that's
so
really
good.
Exactly.
like with their
Yeah.
element, and it's well thought out. So, do you guys want to move into the spoilerific section?
Sure, yeah.
Let's do it.
Now is the spoiler part, guys. Really for realsies.
For realsies. Spoilers ahead.
Ye be warned, all ye who enter here. Okay, then. Let me see what I wanted to say. Okay, so we know, so Sarah, you haven't seen The Legend of Korra yet, so I will avoid
No,
spoilers
I
for
haven't.
that series.
We'll keep it strictly Avatar: The Last Airbender.
We will
I know
eventually
some
get to
things.
Korra, and when we're doing that, we can do a watch along podcast for that with you as it being your first time, and then we can say
My
go
first
away, and then Jenna
then
and
we'll
I can
talk
talk
about
about it
spoilers
with the
stuff.
spoilers without you.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, so we know from the Southern Raiders episode later on that the Southern Water Tribe that we're seeing here is basically the result of decades-long culling of what is basically ethnic cleansing over generations.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, no, because they took away all of the waterbenders and like basically just totally demolished them.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, they did it mostly because they thought that the next Avatar might be there.
Yeah.
Right.
Because if he had died as an airbender, he would have been reincarnated.
Reborn as a waterbender.
Yeah.
But they kept them after they realized they weren't the Avatar, so they still did it as you are the potential military threat to our encroachment over the whole world. Yeah, so it's like it just makes this episode triply sad
Yeah.
when you see
when
this
you're rewatching,
defeated
and you know
dead
like, why
community.
it is the way that it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing the history behind that ship too makes it like so much like not creepy, but just like I don't know, like watching it just left like a really
remind me the history. I'm blanking. I know there was
in season 3 episodes.
No,
when in episode. Oh crap! I don't remember what episode number it is.
It's
but
the
Puppet Master.
Yeah.
Yes, when we meet the old woman from the Southern Water Tribe, who
was friends with Katara and Sokka's grandma.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Graham.
Yes, they. Kana. That's her name.
That sounds right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
She's the first bloodbender that we see.
We see a flashback where she and 12 other waterbenders are using their bending to freeze that ship in place. It's one of the Southern Raiders that are coming to kidnap and kill all of the waterbenders that are in the tribe. Mm-hmm. And you see it slowly deplete their force is slowly depleted, and that's why Qatar is the only one left.
Yeah.
Right.
So seeing that ship and knowing what that woman became after that because of that.
Yeah.
like what it makes me think of. This is going kind of a bit weird maybe, but it makes me think of like Jewish extremists. It honestly does. It makes me think of like there's like an infamous case of a Nazi war criminal that got captured by the Israeli government in the 60s. And so there's this feeling of people who have been abused and attacked for who they are, like fighting back in possibly a bit like too cruel of a way.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's what that like you like getting into the debates about like the extrajudicial nature of that is like a rabbit hole we should not go down.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course it's me who brings up the Jewish angle, but
Of course. Well, we were talking about ethnic cleansing.
yeah, well you can't talk about ethnic cleansing without talking about the Jews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the Armenians, you know. Don't want to leave out the Armenians.
Yeah, we're not going to go into that right now.
Okay. We'll cut it. We'll cut it in post. Okay.
What else you got?
Other spoilery things. Like it feels so weird watching this episode when they don't have the mixed names. Like when it becomes an element later on that a bear is a weird thing. Watching every time I watch this episode and they're like penguin, not otter penguin, not penguin otter.
Yeah.
Because they make a point of that later on.
So that is like one of the few things that makes this episode distracting on a rewatch.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know.
It is something I always
They're still
notice.
figuring it out, and it doesn't keep as closely with the world. Is that what
yeah,
you're talking about?
you can tell that it's a first episode, that they're still trying to figure out how are we going to talk about these fantasy mixed up creatures we created.
Yeah,
sure.
What are we going to name them?
The other thing I thought was interesting was at the beginning of this episode, Sokka was like dodging the ice, you know, when they're in the canoe, and it really reminded me of like that rite of passage that he does later in the series with the
that is a great
ice
example.
dodging. Like I hadn't really noticed that before, but I was like, oh,
it's a really good example of his growth as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's fighting with Katara, like they're fighting like go left, no, go left. And in Botto of the Water Tribe, when Sokka is leading Aang and Katara to dodge the giant boulders, he's like a much more capable leader at that point. So on a rewatch, that's a really nice little scene.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I love Sokka. Like
like how could you not on a rewatch? At least I see how you could easily hate him from the first two episodes. He could be the annoying, sarcastic guy.
I think I think
he's still funny though. Like he's obviously not a horrible person.
No, the fact that he's so brave in his fight with Zuko, I think, is the thing in these first two episodes that really makes him shine.
Oh yeah,
exactly. No, I think the first time that I watched it, I was kind of like iffy about Sokka, like at first too, because obviously he's a little sexist, a little bit of a buzzkill, kind of dumb. He's kind of a dumb. He's a dumb.
Ascend.
He's kind of like a sarcastic. He is. I wouldn't say he's like a dumb jock because he's got a very sarcastic sense of humor. He's not like.
He's obviously smart.
You know, he's obviously very smart.
He's got a good wit.
But I think he has good wit. I think one of the reasons is like he takes things so seriously. Like he's such a foil to Aang because Aang is such a little kid and he's like just so excited about everything, and Sokka is like, you know, entombed with this sense of duty because of the task that his dad left him. And so, you know, even though he's like silly, it's because he's like worried about stuff, you know? So it's like our humor in Sokka is like at his expense, whereas like with Aang, it's because he's adorable and childlike, you know?
And it's interesting to compare like how Sokka and Katara have dealt with those things because like you said, Sokka uses his sense of humor to deal with it, and Katara is, you know, just very mothering and like has to control everything.
Right.
So I think when you said that Aang is like a foil to Sokka, he also brings out a side of Katara that she hasn't accessed in a while, because when they go penguin sledding, she's like, I haven't done this since I was a kid, and he's like, you still are a kid.
I know.
Oh,
Katara. I love that line.
Because it's like, it just shows that she's only, what, 14 right now?
She's 14.
So, like, that just, it made my heart hurt a little bit for Katara.
It does hurt a little bit.
Katara.
The other thing I was going to say is, I, like, noticed on this rewatch, I noticed so many similarities between Sokka and Zuko. And that, like, made it, like, I loved it even more because then, like, later they're, like, you know, their, like, little bro friendship that they have towards the end. I'm like, that makes so much sense because it's
what
like,
are some things you saw similar about them?
Honor and duty.
No, they're both trying to make their fathers proud.
It's like they're both really intense. It's like Sokka obviously has more of a sarcastic humor about it, and Zuko's very dry, but like they're both so very like dramatic. Uptight. Yeah, they're both very uptight and dramatic about things and like not wanting their things messed with, and like have a very like strong sense of purpose in mind because they like, and they have obviously like this thing with their dads going on.
Daddy issues.
I honestly never thought that like they bonded over they both want to impress their daddies. But you're totally right.
Yeah.
It's such a thing. Yeah.
No, that's a really good observation.
Yep. So I just like, I wasn't paying attention to that, you know, the first time I watched it, but now I saw it so clearly. I was like, oh, they're basically the same. No wonder they're such good bros, you know. Yeah. They got their little bromance going on.
I love that.
I love that too.
Beautiful. Well, thank you all for listening to the first episode of Rewatchers.
Yay!
How was that for a sign off?
The name. I'm not sure if I like the name anymore.
We can figure it out before the show. Like we'll do a cut like where it'll be like thanks for watching the episode of Rewatchable, and then we'll put it right there.
Do 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 bow.